The Senate Judiciary Committee chairman says that the panel will investigate former President Trump's Justice Department.
In a letter, Senator Dick Durbin outlines claims that the former president attempted to use the Manhattan U.S. Attorney's Office to prosecute his critics and protect his allies. Senior investigative correspondent Catherine Herridge joins us now with more on this and other Trump investigations. Catherine, it's good to see you.
Good morning.
So what do we know about the Senate Judiciary Committee's investigation, and where did these allegations stem from?
Well, Vlad, these allegations stem from a new book by the former U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, Geoffrey Berman. In his book, he alleges that there was a concerted campaign by Trump allies to minimize some investigations and then also pursue others. If there's one case that seems to stand out, it's that of Steve Bannon, then an advisor to President Trump. And what Berman says is that he was very close to indicting Bannon based on his public efforts to build a wall at the southern border and to raise money. And then Berman lost his job, and then President Trump eventually pardoned Steve Bannon. So this investigation in the Senate committee has a lot of legs if Democrats maintain control of the committee in November. And if they lose control, Republicans on that committee will then turn their focus to these allegations by FBI whistleblowers that there was a concerted effort in the fall of 2020 to downplay negative information about then candidate Biden and his son Hunter Biden.
So, Catherine, what does the new unsealed sections of the affidavit tell us about discussions between the Trump legal team and the FBI?
Well, this affidavit, Anne-Marie, is really fascinating because it seems like every week another layer of secrecy is peeled back. And in this one, it gives us a lot of granularity about this engagement between the FBI, Justice Department, and the Trump legal team prior to the search of Mar-a-Lago. And what it says is that the Trump lawyer told them he had been advised that all of the records from the White House were in this storage area. Also, that there was nothing beyond that storage area, such as the former president's office or other public areas of Mar-a-Lago. And it also says that there was no discussion at that time that the records at Mar-a-Lago had already been declassified. And based on classified markings on some of the records, the FBI and Justice Department asked that additional security be put on that storage area because it wasn't what's known as a SCIF, which is a secure facility for highly classified information. So we're getting a sense of what those exchanges were prior to the search in August.
So what does the affidavit tell us about the scope of this probe, Catherine?
Well, Vlad, I think this is one of the most interesting elements of the affidavit. It shows that already by sort of June, July timeframe, the FBI and Justice Department were trying to understand whether there was some kind of compromise with this information or unauthorized access to these secure storage area. And what the affidavit shows is that the FBI and Justice Department were seeking all of the security camera and surveillance video around that storage area to understand, you know, who was going in and who was going out and when. And that tells me that they probably have additional information from witnesses. Remember back in the affidavit, it talks about they have multiple witnesses in this case to see if that dovetails about the access. And kind of intriguingly, there's a section that's really blacked out, but it says that a thumb drive was provided to the FBI, which certainly suggests that they do have some video footage prior to that search in August.
So on to this issue of the special master. I was surprised that both sides actually agreed on a name as quickly as they did, but the judge has to approve that name. You know, the Trump side is saying all investigating should stop. The Justice Department is now renewing their request to resume their investigating. Where do things stand? Is there any sort of deadline? What can you tell us?
Just sort of my analysis, Anne-Marie, is the Justice Department's agreement to at least one of the special master candidates signals that they want to try and move forward now. They anticipate that the litigation on this issue is going to an appellate court. It could even go all the way to the Supreme Court, according to some analysts, and that could be a months-long process, to say the least. The leading candidate, if you will, is this federal judge, Deary. He's a Republican appointee. He's sat on the federal bench for decades, and he also has sat on what's called the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, or FISA court. This is a court that handles the approval of surveillance warrants inside the United States on American citizens, so he's very fluid fluent rather in counterintelligence investigations and then also highly classified information. And actually, he was one of the judges that approved a surveillance warrant for that Trump campaign aide Carter Page. This is actually the binder of how large these surveillance warrants are. And actually, I found his name right here at the very end. So it was one of the last warrants. And the Inspector General at the Justice Department, its watchdog, did find that some of those warrants were defective, that were given to the court by the FBI. There were allegations of circular reporting. And I know through my own contacts that it's highly unusual to see a FISA that relies on media reporting, but that's what happened in the Carter Page case.
That is so fascinating. Catherine, thank you very much.
You're welcome.